What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Amaro Yu-Gi-Oh! Um, for starters, I did go through a rebranding. I used to be Quasar, but as of recently, I just wanted to update, get something fresh started. Amaro Yu-Gi-Oh! Is pretty much what I live by because Amaro's my last name and Yu-Gi-Oh's pretty much my life. I don't know if that's sad or not, but beyond that, I do love this game. If you guys have followed me prior, you know that my content is all about competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And how to advance yourself in the game and how to be better and hopefully just give you guys tips on how to be a competitive player whose goal is to win tournaments, top, achieve greater aspects in the game. Of course, for the casual player, you're always welcome. I love supplying anybody with knowledge. That's why I enjoy this. And I also want to take this into a further context where I want to be an influencer, for Yu-Gi-Oh! And hopefully show you guys the lifestyle of a duelist. I am sponsored, so the life of a sponsored duelist, which is awesome. I am sponsored by Team Jobber. Shout out to him and shout out to the whole team. And I'm also sponsored by First or Last Gaming. They are a new and upcoming team with so much potential. We have the likes of Kyle Waterbury. We have the likes of Daniel Ramirez and Tristan Bridges and Daniel Ramirez. Two guys with the same name. It's pretty funny. We have our great leader, Anthony Vang. So there's just so much to come of that. And we will be partaking in the Worlds grind next season, to where we will be trying to get to Worlds by competing in as many Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments as possible, whether that be Nationals, whether that be Regionals, whether that be YCS, whatever it takes to get there. And as of right now, we're pretty much going on tour. There's so many events in the States of California. We're going to Philadelphia. Man, we're even going out of state. We'll be going to Vancouver, Cancun, all for the love of the game, YPFL. So we are Yu-Gi-Oh! Players for life. And yeah, I hope to show you guys what else comes with being a duelist, because I think, everybody knows Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. Yu-Gi-Oh! is always known as a children's card game. But this game has given me so much, whether it be friends, opportunity to travel, experiences, and good connections just overall. There's some of my greatest friends, my lifetime friends I've met through this game, and I've been friends with people for decades, and all thanks to this game. And I hope to just take you guys through the life that it's given me and show you guys just a broader, bigger picture than what just dueling and being a nerd is about. There's just so much life in it, and I love it. So hopefully you guys are down for that journey. I'm still going to be bringing you the competitive content that I planned to at the beginning, and I'm just going to bring better and better content. There's so much in the works. I got a podcast coming. There is talks of a league in my area, more to come on that, and I'm excited to get into that. So as of right now, let me get into what I have ready for you guys. We will be talking about post Cyac, the set that will be released here very shortly. I believe in about 2 weeks, a week. We will be having a whole new set, which is awesome. And I just want to tell you guys what cards you can get now, as of today, to save you guys a couple bucks when the time does come, because these cards are going to be very detrimental to the format. It's going to be very exciting for something brand new. We're all very tired of Kashtira. We're all very tired of the format and where it's at now. We want a forbidden list, and I'm very excited for what's to come for the game. So let's get into this, and hopefully you guys get some value out of this, and you can save yourself a couple bucks before the hype prices come in. Here we go. All right, so for starters, we have Droll and Logbird, which I believe will be the most played hand trap of next format. This card is very powerful, as it does apply to the new set. A lot of the new decks will be affected by Droll and Logbird. We have the likelies of Super Heavy Samurai, also Purely. These decks do have so many searchable assets that Droll will be very high impact. Droll currently is very high impact as it goes, but next format is so based on comboing, it's so based on adding cards to your hand that, man, this card ends turns and it could end games easily. everybody will be playing it. That's why we have the likelies of Gamma, to which we will get to. We'll also talk about the likeliness of Crossout Designator. We will get to that. I gotta add that to that list while we're here. So yeah, Droll is definitely very high impact. I would say pick them up now. The CRs are going to probably skyrocket, and the ultimate rares will probably skyrocket too once the new set releases, if they haven't already gone up. So be prepared for that. Now we have Ghost Ogre. Ghost Ogre has so much application for the next format. I highly believe that this card is going to be as impactful as Droll in the matchups that we are looking at today. We're primarily looking at post Cyac and the new decks to be coming out. I don't really want to dwell too much on the current format because we kind of already know where it's at, and we know where Ghost Ogre and Droll and all that could be applicable. I will relate it back and forth, but I will say that I'm only focused on the new format. So with Super Heavy Samurais, your primary targets are going to be Wakashi, and they're also going to be Big Benkei. So, personally, I believe that there's a lot of choke points for where these cards can be activated and be detrimental. The biggest problem we have with Super Heavy Samurai is that once they get the pendulum skills established, it is very hard to win because they're going to combo and they're going to do so many different things. Ghost Ogre can skip turns. You can either hit Wakashi or you can hit Big Benkei. If you have enough interactions, I say that Big Benkei is the appropriate target because it is a one of generally in most lists. They may play multiples, into which case it'll be Wakashi that would be the better target. But if they're only playing one of this, you're going to want to hit this because it'll be harder for them to establish skills. So that's the gist of it. If they can't establish the skills, they can't super combo you, and you'll only have to deal with maybe 1-2 interruptions. Which next format, that'll be very easy because we're going to be in a combo based format, and combo decks generally have no problem playing through 1 to 2 negates nowadays. So we'll move on. We have Kurikara, which personally is my favorite hand trap power card of next format. This card helps you play around Purely. Purely is definitely the one of the contenders for the best decks next to Super Heavy Samurai. We have Nor. Nor is a towers, to which it is unaffected by activated effects while it has 5 or more materials, which is very easy for this deck to establish. This card can detach 2 cards to shuffle a card on your side of the field back into the deck, which is very powerful. It is an interruption. And since Kurikara does tribute as a summoning condition for itself, this will be affected by it. And it will pretty much make it to where, I believe, let's see. Yeah, so my friend Purely, when a card leaves a card because of an opponent's card, so it will trigger this still, which is unfortunate, but we will get to the workarounds of that. It's just that this card is sometimes impossible to deal with, and just having an immediate out, such as Kurikara, which becomes a beater, and it special summons monsters at the end phase. This card has a lot of value, and when you're playing against decks like Super Heavy Samurais, where they play a lot of interactions, and you're going to be able to kind of bait out a lot of the interruptions, this card can clear a whole board and go for game all in one go. The cool part about these cards, Droll, Kurikara, is that in the Purely deck, they synergize so well because we are playing the likes of Where Are Thou? Where Are Thou is an incredible card, okay? This card is extremely powerful in the Purely deck because they are all 1-stars, so this deck just synergizes with it. It allows them to search for a hand trap. This is basically a way for them to get a power card. Both Kurikara and Droll are level 1s. And another card that is level 1 that is very high impact for Purely against Super Heavy Samurai is Performer Pal 5 Rainbow Magician. Excuse me. This card is a Mystic Mind for Super Heavy Samurai. This card can automatically win you a game against that deck, and this card is very threatening for that deck. Cards like Mystic Mind have the power to push cards out of the meta push decks like entire archetypes, and this one card can beat an entire deck, which is insane. Um, that's why we have Archfiend Eccentric on here. But this card is also searchable by Where Art Thou, so man, that's pretty threatening as a super heavy samurai player. And when you're going against Purely, which is a deck that is so consistent that you're already worried about having to deal with Nor. Now you got to deal with Nor plus this card. It's not looking too good. They'll be able to interact with your scales, push your scales back, and then you literally cannot activate monster effects or attack. And so yeah, that's a problem card. If this card isn't dealt with, it has the power to end the whole game. So that's where Eccentric Archfiend comes in. Archfiend Eccentric, excuse me. This card is a skill, so you can throw it in your Pendulum Zone. You can use it to destroy this skill, and then you can Pendulum Summon it back to either destroy a monster or use it as like a link material, something of that. This card is going to be very powerful. I suggest that you pick them up. The secrets are already on the rise. People are very aware of this. And I'm sure that all the lower rarity ones will also eventually go up in price too. Again, this is just a list of cards that you should pick up now to avoid having to pay a top dollar for them. These are all just cards that are going to be very relevant, very meta relevant. You're going to want to keep them in your stock probably throughout the format so you can interchange them, and you might even play all these cards. Every deck might play all these cards, like most of them. Herald of the Abyss. This is a very, very spicy side deck card. This card plays around the Purely synergy. So you do have Nur, which, it is a card that is unaffected by an opponent's activated effect. However, the way that Herald of the Abyss works, it is not the card affecting the monster. It is your opponent choosing to get rid of that monster. So it affects the player, and then the player chooses what they want to go to the graveyard. So you call Nor's declare type and attribute. So you call Dark Fairy. They would send this to the graveyard, and they have this card, which if it's sent by your opponent's card, they would get to add 3. But because it's sent by your opponent and not you, it applies to your opponent. Your opponent chooses which, like evenly match, they would not be able to add their 3 back. Insane. Okay, this card is going to be very, very relevant, especially for that matchup. And while we're at it, this just gives me the vibes of Courage the Cowardly Dog when they stole the tomb. It just gave me that. I just had to bring that up. It always reminds me of that. Crossout Designator. This card is very powerful. For good reasons. I just realized that I skipped over Dark Ruler and Pot of Prosperity. We will touch back on that in a second. But Crossout Designator will be very relevant in the sense of everybody's going to be playing the same 15 to 20 hand traps. That's where this card thrives, when everybody's playing the most similar stack of cards. And I think that with there being Drone Lockbird, Ghost Ogre, Nibiru, Kurikara, Gamma, all those cards in everybody's decks, Dark Ruler no more, Crossout Designator just solves so many problems. This card is in and out of formats because we go through those phases of, are we going to play this, are we going to play that? That next format's pretty established. There might be a variety of hand traps going around, but we're pretty much all established on you need Ghost Ogre, you need Droll, you need Imperm, etc. So Crossout is definitely a safe investment because it will be meta relevant. Dark Ruler no more. I should have touched on this, but I kind of started aggroing through things after Kurikara because I got sidetracked. I didn't even touch on Gamma, so we're going to do these here. We'll actually start with Gamma, okay? Gamma is a very, very interesting card. As of right now, it is very high impact. Next format, it will also remain high impact for the fact that it is a card that right now can bait out a Rise. You can bait out a Rise Heart, use it to destroy that. It gives you a free body, and it does have synergy with the new XL Synchro Stardust Dragon. I'll touch base on that once I get to the Synchros. Gamma is very high impact. It can stop the likes of Droll. It can stop the likes of Ghost Ogre. If you're playing Super Heavy Samurai, there's a way to bait your opponent into doing things like that. And Gamma is just so powerful because it can stop all these cards that stop you. In the purely matchup, you can stop their monsters from being established so they don't get the effect. Plus, they won't have a monster to exceed with, so you'll probably have to worry less unless they have a really solid hand. Gamma stops effects no matter what, regardless if it is the monster is got like tributed. So if you're playing against like Branded and they have Cartesia up and they summon Aliber to play around Imperm Veiler, Gamma will negate the effect no matter what, and they'll probably force their Cartesia to activate so they can get Gragonol, but they won't be getting Branded Fusion or Branded Lost or whatever they need. Note, Dark Ruler No More. This card is currently so powerful, and next format just gets more powerful since there will be one deck that is thriving, which is Super Heavy Samurai. And may I mind you, Super Heavy Samurai is not an expensive deck overall. So people will be playing this deck at just as much as possible. Dark Ruler No More has no counterpart, in theory, to Super Heavy Samurai. I will refer you guys to my friend, Cards and Coffee TCG. Check out his YouTube. He just dropped a very high quality video on the post Cyac format. Very informative. One thing that he did bring up that I loved was that you could think about potentially affording to stop the synergy of Super Heavy Samurai's clause of no back row or no spells and traps in the graveyard. If you're playing a deck like Super Heavy Samurai where it takes one card to make a full combo that's almost unstoppable, you could afford to put like Solemn Judgment, cards like that just make sure that you win. Because if they're playing Dark Ruler No More and that's the only card that stops you, you stop it with Solemn. Even though you have spells and traps in the graveyard, you already have the board that you need. You're going to win that game. I love that logic. And I recommend you guys to check it out. Put your thoughts on it. Let them know that Amaro TCG sent you. And yeah, hopefully people will experiment with that because there's a lot of room for what the meta really is going to be and how it's going to work out. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out for sure. Pot of Prosperity is one of those cards that it's a pot card. In history, we look back, we can see that Pot of Prosperity, Pot of Duality, Pot of Greed, just all the pot cards, Pot of Avarice, they're all so powerful. Prosperity is just so good right now because we have Kashtiras where a Rise Heart synergizes with it. You can put the likes of Goliath, you can put the fossil cards, you can put Omega. There's just so many varieties, Natis, Garua, and you get to look and dig for cards that you need. In a format where there's going to be 15 to 20 hand traps in everybody's deck, this card, you'll be able to full combo, use this card to ensure that you get a hand trap, which is awesome. It is a pot card. The one thing I will say, keep in mind that it is possible to be hit. All pot cards that are broken do eventually get the banhammer / forbidden list or limited list, or they go to 1, they go to 2. Prosperity is not safe from that, in my opinion. So I would say be wary of that one, but it is definitely a good staple to have. So the cards that I have in my side deck are very impactful just in a variety of senses. If you're going to want to be playing Dragon Link control with Bystials, you're of course going to want your Bystials. There are a lot of new cards coming out for the Dragon Link deck, and just kind of for Branded Despia as well. We have... Bam. Let me just kind of add these real quick. Okay. So, Bystial Magnemite, Druisworm, Lubellion, all the Bystials in a sense. I could add them all. You're going to want to make sure that you have them. They are going to be really meta relevant, regardless if you're using them for interactions like side decks, etc. They're still going to be good for their own decks. Bystial Dragon Link Control is a very solid deck right now. It synergizes very much with Fallen of Albaz, which is awesome because you can use Hieratic Seal to bounce a card, summon out Albaz, use it to make Mirror Jade, and you get another layer of interaction. Your 1 seals hits one card, your Albaz hits another card, and your Mirror Jade hits another card. That's 3 layers, which is insane. Bystials on their own gain so much advantage. Currently, there are a lot of tier element players just trying to keep the deck alive, and the deck is very resilient. The deck is very strong, and I think that they are scary enough to compete in a meta. Myself, I am playing tier element, and the deck still goes so incredibly crazy, and it's just so strong that Bystials still need to make their way into like your side decks. Because they're not only just good for that, but when we get the likes of the Mana Dome cards, where people will be playing Beast of Starfrost, Reichheart, all these lights and darks that are very high impact, you're going to want to have Bystials to kind of control the game state and give you advantage. Lubellion is there because it does synergize with the new branded Etude. Etude is a card that allows you to synchro summon on your opponent's turn. And any card that is used for an extra deck summon is essentially banished instead. So this card is very, very strong, has so much application. This card allows you to make the likes of Chaos Angel. Chaos Angel being such a dominant card next format. In Bystial Dragon Link control, you can make this card, and then you can also make Barone, and you can make Bystial Dispatter, which is just 3 giant monsters. This card does have a blanket effect that protects all your synchro monsters. So let's read it real quick because this card is actually very incredible. 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner light or dark monster. For this card, synchro summon, you can treat 1 light or dark monster you control as a tuner. So you don't even actually need a tuner, which means that the likes of Magnemite, Druid Swarm, things like that can be used to make this, which is just so incredibly free. If this card is synchro summoned, you can target 1 card on the field, banish it. That's just an extra like bonus. And then based off of what you use, you gain a effect for the synchro. If you use a light monster, synchro monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's activated monster effects. That's wow. Cards like Baron, cards like Bystial Dispatter itself, unaffected. It's just amazing. Dark, your monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. It didn't even need that. The card was already broken, and it's 3,500, and it's just so free. Like, this card blows my mind. All right, this card just blows my mind. All right, we'll get in the extra deck. I'm already, tearing up over here. You want the Lubellions because the Lubellions synergize with the Etude. Lubellions they jump around in price range. We do have, I believe, a new set of collector's tins coming out. So this is potential for reprint, but if they don't reprint it, you could be paying hundreds of dollars for these cards again. They fluctuate from 70 to 100 all the time, and this card is just very powerful. It's so free, and it's awesome. The artwork on this card is insane. I love this card. Forbidden Droplet. This is a hypothetical card. The reason it's fallen out of the meta is because a Rise Heart, Kashtira Rise Heart. When there is a Macrocosmos effect out, you cannot use Forbidden Droplet. So if they Dimensional Shifter you, if they Arise Heart you, Macrocosmos you, this card does nothing. But in a format where maybe a Rise Heart gets hit, or not everybody's playing Kashtira, Droplets is very powerful. Decks like Super Heavy Samurais, where they make broken boards, like absolutely insane boards, this card is going to be very powerful. It's good against just pretty much anything. Bystial control. If they're, Bystial's putting out cards like this, Baron, etc., like, you need ways to stop it. Droplets and Dark Ruler, a perfect synergy for getting rid of all those problem cards. I'd say keep it in mind, they are very low right now. This card has seen its days of being a very high valued card. And right now, while it's low, it's a good time to pick up because there is possibility that it will make its way back into the circuit of gameplay. Then we move on to the triple tactics cards. We have Talents, we have Thrust. Talents is pretty self-explanatory. We're going into a meta where there's 15 to 20 hand traps in everybody's deck. Talents is just going to be thriving. you're going to be able to look at your opponent's hand, hit another hand trap. You bait one hand trap out, you hit another one, you full combo. It's a change of heart. Takes a monster. It can put you in a controlling position since there's so many broken cards. There's Baron, there's Chaos Angel, this Powder, just so many things. It's triple talents, or it's a Pot of Greed. And we know that going into the next format, there will be so many hand traps that this card will resolve more likely than not. So you should have a set ready. We have next Triple Tactics Thrust. Of course, Thrust is on the same page as Talents, where it requires your opponent to interact with you. But seeing that next format, we will be playing new Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't want to say like incredibly new, but it'll be a whole new format. Thrust is one of those cards where you just want to have it on hand just in case it's necessary, because you could put extra side deck cards like Dimensional Barrier, Deck Devastation, like the virus cards. There's just so many opportunities for this card to be good. We have Magic Deflector. This card is very strong against Purely. This card is very strong against Runic. And if everybody's playing hand traps, maximizing on those, being able to set Magic Deflector in certain matchups, being able to set Dimensional Barrier, being able to set just whatever, you know, it's just so strong. And then if you can play into your opponent's field, then this can give you Triple Tactics, it can give you Change of Heart, it can give you Dark Hole Raigeki, Dark Ruler No More, it can give you Prosperity, it can give you Herald of the Abyss, Where Art Thou? There's just so much opportunity. Imagine you're playing into your opponent's board, you thrust them in the Purely matchup, Where Art Thou searches for Kurikara, boom, you just wipe the whole board. Amazing. There's just so much opportunity for all this, but these are just cards that you should be picking up and having in your inventory, so in case they see the gameplay, you have them, because these cards will go up. XL Synchro Stardust Dragon out of the Maze of Memories pack. This card is incredible. This card is just so good. If any deck is playing Gamma, you play this card, because this card gives you free Baron. What it does is when it's synchro summoned, you special summon a level 2 or lower tuner from your graveyard. This has a quick effect during the main phase. You contribute this card to special summon one Stardust and immediately synchro after. So essentially, this card has a Chainlink 1, which is summoning a level 2 or lower. Chainlink 2, summoning Stardust. So you basically would summon this card. Say they activate Nibiru. This card can chain to summon Stardust, and then you synchro. This has a blanket effect where any card that was synchro summoned by this card's effect is unaffected by activated monster effects. Actually, activated effects, not even just monster effects, for the rest of the turn, which is insane, which means that your Baron is not nibbable. And if it can't be nibbed, then not only do you lose a layer of interaction, but now you have to deal with a negate. A lot to think about in this case. Other than that, you need Stardust Dragon, because Stardust Dragon synergizes with this. There's a lot of application for where Stardust can be broken. And yeah, I mean, Stardust is always good and can always be better. Chaos Angel, we went over that card. But let's go over Bestial Dispatter. One of my favorite synchros to come out recently. This card is insane. You can target one banished light or dark monster, special summon it to your field. When your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can target one banished card, shuffle it into the deck. Then, if you were that card's owner, destroy that monster. If your opponent was, negate that activated effect. So wow. Just to pretty much put it out there, this card summons any light or dark monster from your banished. Actually, it's either player's banished, because it just says target one banished. So, in Chaos Bestial Control, there's just all lights and darks. In the branded matchup, there's darks. There's just so many like key cards that this card can grab. And even in, like, let's say the Kashtira matchup, this card can bring back a Rise Heart if a Rise Heart is banished. There's just so many things to think about. Like, this card just does so much. It's a quick effect to shuffle back banishes and negate effects. So, you know, there's a lot of opportunity for that card to be insane. And we will see it go off in so much capacities. You do bring it off of E2. You can hard make it. So I'm looking forward to seeing the synergy with this card. pretty much this is a good list to start with. I wanted to, kind of highlight these two because there's no actual way to prepare to buy these, but the things that work around them, you're going to want to prepare for. You're going to want to get to your bestials, your sci-frame gammas, things that are going to be able to go into them, but you want to make sure that you have them. Of course, this is just to help you save a buck, help you guys prepare, and kind of think about what cards you're going to want to play next format and what cards people are going to be playing next format. There's so many great videos that I've seen. Shout out to GG Yu-Gi-Oh! Shout out to Squiddy. Shout out to all these Yu-Gi tubers doing their things. Cards and Coffee, once again, go ahead and check them out. They're all great Yu-Gi tubes with so much great content post Cyac. And I hope that this helps you, and I hope that you guys save a pretty penny and that you come back because there's so much content coming. I can't wait to explore outside of just the competitive Yu-Gi-Oh aspect and show you guys just kind of the life. But also I can't wait to help you guys improve your game and hopefully become top tier duelists that eventually will get sponsored and thrive and win championships, because the goal isn't to get sponsored. The goal is to be the king of games, and that's what we're here for. So Mario Yu-Gi-Oh, checking out. Hopefully you guys like this. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you check out those other Yu-Gi tubers, and I'll be back around. Y'all have a good night.